This week, Apple's locking your phone down, Blizzard's holding your games back, and Facebook's letting your face go. It's Sunday, November 7th, 2021, and this is episode 609 of F5 Live Refreshing Technology, a proud part of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. Wherever you are and however you're accessing our show, whether it be on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or Snapchat, through a podcatcher like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, TuneIn, or a myriad of other options, through our live stream platforms, livestream.com, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, or of course on our website, PLUGHITZlive.com. Thank you for making us a part of your day. There are two ways that you can do that. The first is Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can go to f5live.tv/join us. There you can chat with us in the studio, give us your feedback on the topics as we talk about them. If you're not able to join us live, that's okay. PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows, including F5 Live, The Piltch Point, PLUGHITZ Live Presents, First Looks, and a whole lot more. And of course, you'll find all the ways to watch, listen, and follow along. Well, Avram, Techtober has come to an end, though we will be talking about some of the stuff from Techtober. But how has November been treating you so far?
Well, a really big review that we put up on the 3rd, or was it the 4th, regarding Intel's new Alder Lake CPUs. So that's a pretty major development of November, and we'll talk about that more later. But it's not over, and November is a overall busier month for me. I mean, I don't know how many more major product announcements we're going to get before the holidays, but we have to keep track of, we track all the major deals and things like that. So that becomes a big part of our November. I end up working Thanksgiving and the weekend of Thanksgiving and all that stuff. So, it's a very eventful month for me. And then just on a somewhat personal note, tomorrow is my first day back in the office. That we are reopening the New York office, so I can't hop out of bed in my pajamas and and go downstairs and use my nice 4-monitor desktop. I gotta go into the office, and so I will. So I'll be doing that. That will be somewhat of an adjustment for me, but
right.
Otherwise, so I expect it to be a very eventful month, both in terms of just all the things going on with tech, all the deals that people are getting while they're shopping, and then all of the, just changes to my schedule and life. For me, changes to my schedule and lifestyle of after having, work from home for almost 2 years. So, or at least
18
year
months.
and a half, something like that. Yeah. So March of 2020. Yeah. So beats me. As part of the thing, though, I am actually figuring out what gear to bring with me into the office, because I don't expect them to provide me with like a good keyboard or anything. I always got to bring my own keyboard, because if and I'm sure everybody who works for a company is the same thing. Like if they give me a keyboard, it's going to be like a $10 keyboard. So So I have this keyboard I've been testing out that is kind of cool that I'm going to bring with me. This is the Akko L3098. It is a mechanical keyboard that is both wired and wireless, and it does Bluetooth 2.4 gigahertz or USB, and it is what I like about it that's pretty cool is it's very compact, but it still has a number pad. It's a 96% keyboard. So it's missing a couple of keys. Like it doesn't have scroll lock and it doesn't have print screen. That one's kind of unfortunate, although you can get it through a function row. I like these keycaps. They are kind of retro style. They're usually what's called SA keycaps, but these are shorter. They're called ASA keycaps. And I don't know. So I've been testing. I'm going to bring it with me to actually be my keyboard in the office for a while. And and then I've got to bring a mouse with me, wrist rests,
right?
You know, everything like for my new home.
So the chat room's got some questions for you. First of all,
oh, okay,
they have noticed your change of headphones. We talked about it in the pre-show, but we haven't talked about it in the actual show. Longtime viewers will recognize that your headphones have changed this week.
Yes, you might. Yes, I probably should have worn a hat too, because you can really get the RGB reflecting off of my head. But so this is a Logitech G7, what's it? 733. Is it? Yes. G733 Lightspeed. So this is about, depending on where you get it, it's about $150 headset. It is wireless 2.4 gigahertz, so easier to set up and probably more responsive than Bluetooth, although you can't use it with, you got to use it with a computer because it's not going to work with your mobile device. But what I like about it is, and this is a really simple thing, but the microphone is removable. So when I'm on a show, as I am with you here, and at least one other time per week with the podcast show that I host, I use a podcast mic over here, which is the Bumblebee, the Bumblebee, but which I like a lot.
The USB version of the one that's in front of me.
Yeah, no, mine is the cheaper one. It's the, I think it's the Becaster then.
But it's the round pickup instead of the big square one.
Yes. Yeah. You're right. So anyway,
it's the same pickup on yours.
Yes, and I like it a lot. I think I've mentioned it on the show before. I like it a lot. So it's weird that when I was wearing a headset, I had this kind of, conference call looking headset, and you can't take off the mic. So I don't know. I didn't like the look of that. And I had a chance to get one of these. So we actually had it, laying around. One of my colleagues had it laying around, so I didn't have to. So I'm just kind of using it for now. But anyway, it's I like it a lot. It's got RG. I like the RGB, which is cool. The sound seems to be good. The cups are very comfortable, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about this little elastic thing at the top. I think I can take that off though if I don't like it. So, a lot of people I know use this and really like it. And it seems really comfortable, and it is more of a statement than the one that cheap, headset that I had. But the number one thing that I really wanted to get out of it, besides it just being comfortable, is being able to remove the mic piece.
Yeah.
So
that's nice.
And but I do. It's also nice to be wireless. It's very nice to be wireless. Sure. And I think a lot of people don't like Bluetooth for very good reason. It can be unreliable, and if you're a gamer or something like that, or streamer, then the reliability matters a bit more than, say, when I'm taking my wireless headphones that I wear with me when I'm listening to music on my phone.
Sure. And the delay on Bluetooth can be variable, which can be annoying. Like I've got a speaker at home that I use in my bathroom that, like, when it's synced up with video, the audio will come in and out of sync. It'll be consistent, but it comes in and out of sync of the video.
Right.
It's weird.
So for something like doing our show here, that would be very bad if I thought if I was behind the times, or what, but if there was a lag. But for listening to music on your phone or whatever, that's fine. So Yeah, I mean, I like the look of these. What I would really like, and I think someone tried to make one once, I would love to get headphones where they had an LED matrix on the sides.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I would, I feel like that's a project someone could do, like, so I could put like a little, whatever is relevant. So I could have like the F5 Live logo on it now. And then when I do my Raspberry Pi show, I could just have like a little Raspberry Pi logo on it or whatever.
Yeah, that'd be
In
cool.
LED. So I think that I would love to see someone do that. But short of that, I don't know.
Chat
I don't know.
agrees.
What do you guys in the chat room think? I'm not sure I like this band here. I think I might take it off because you can take the elastic part off.
We're
But
getting
not really sure what it's there for.
these look awesome. Always neat when you can remove the mic, things like that.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I think it's so these are pretty good. For what they are, wireless 150 is really not bad. But and also really importantly, I'm very picky about the comfort of the cups because I don't
Of
want something
course.
that's like hot or now I can't say these are fairly new to me, so I haven't worn them for hours and hours at a time. But they seem pretty comfortable, and the material is like um, uh, it's like it's a good sort of a cloth material. It's not like sweaty or hard plastic like I've had with some
Yeah,
others. So
that's
anyway,
good.
uh, I like
Cool.
them. Yeah.
Uh, and the other question is on that keyboard, can you choose your switches or are they predetermined and that's it?
Ooh, so it's funny. I was thinking about making my Piltch point about the keyboard, and then we decided to do something. I decided to do something else. So this is the Akko 3098, and it comes with. It's very interesting that you mentioned that somebody mentioned that because there are two switch. It is hot swappable, but it comes with two switch possibilities by default. One and both of them are not, in my opinion, not great. So the one of them is silent red linear, which feels like you're pressing out on cardboard, and then the
Oh,
other one is something called jelly white, which is another linear, but at least it's a little bit more tactile. And I've never heard of jelly white before. So
I have
the
encountered them.
I actually think the jelly white are for a linear switch are nice. I just don't like
Okay.
linear switches
Right.
personally. But if I had to type on a linear switch, that would be the one. But this model, so they actually sent me two of these, one with each switch. So I tested them both,
Got it.
and I found that like I said, I'm not a linear switch person. The other one with the jelly switches is okay. These red switches are horrific. So and it's not the fault. This is just these are the switches that they offer with it.
Right.
So what I'm doing is I actually was doing it just a few minutes before the show, so that's why I say it's funny you mentioned it. Is actually I've been swapping in white my favorite switch, which is Kale Box white switches into here so that I can use so that when I take this to work with me, I'll be actually typing on my favorite switch
Sure.
because I really like everything else about this keyboard. Now I do wish that, and this will be in my review when I post it, I do wish that they would offer this with a clicky switch option.
Mhm.
But hey, it's got a lot of other things going for it. For example, I love the fact that it has like two levels of feet.
Oh,
So you can have it at different angles. Um, so and it's got like all kinds of RGB light effects on it too,
oh,
and
cool.
it's got a lot going for it. I love the look of it too. The only thing that I don't like are the switches, but fortunately, if you have other switches or you're willing to buy other switches, it's hot swappable, so
That's cool.
it's easy enough to take a few minutes and pop the old ones out and put the new ones in, and then you can have an experience that you really like.
That's cool. We should have like a community day where we talk switches because Alante says, I love me some brown or blue switches. And clicky is definitely better.
Yeah, well, if you like blue, then Kale Box White are much better. But we could have a whole show about that. So
That would be
let's
a lot
move
of
on.
fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've got a lot of news to get down to tonight, so let's get there now. This week's Nifty Gifties on F5 Live is proudly powered by the Microsoft Store. Whether you're looking for a new laptop, a tablet, desperately seeking a new Xbox, some games, and a whole lot more, you can get them at the Microsoft Store. And remember that current students, faculty, parents, and active military can save up to 10% on almost everything. To browse the products and learn more about the discounts, you can go to f5live.tv/Microsoft. So obviously a topic that we've discussed a lot is this seemingly ever-changing mobile landscape for stores, and the fact that consumers are more and more interested in an open platform. Epic Games brought this to the forefront about a year ago when they wanted more control over their game. Apple and Google wouldn't give it to them. It disappeared from both stores. But Android, because of its ability to sideload, had the ability to install it anyway. iOS, on the other hand, does not have that capability, and to do any kind of sideloading requires an enterprise distribution certificate and all kinds of additional nonsense. So not great. We know that there are some laws that are being considered the most high profile is probably the one from the European Commission, the Digital Markets Act, which would force basically Apple and anybody else with an app store, Roku, everybody, to allow sideloading. Again, most platforms already do. Apple is currently one of the oddballs. And so this week, that's a lot of setup to say that this week, the Web Summit, the sister event of Collision, went on, and one of the speakers was I don't remember how to pronounce his last name, Craig Federighi from Apple. He's the guy who's in charge of iOS for Apple. He's the kind of... He looks like he should be younger than he is guy that speaks at most of the events. He went on like a big thing saying how sideloading is evil. It is... What was his actual quote? Sideloading is a cyber criminal's best friend, and requiring that on the iPhone would be a gold rush for the malware industry. That one provision in the DMA, which he calls out specifically, could force every iPhone user into a landscape of professional con artists constantly trying to fool them. Now, let me tell you why that's crazy, why that argument doesn't work. Because Android has this capability, right, Avram? But it's not on by default, and there are some hoops that you have to go through to turn it on, and you're muted. And Epic Games put together a whole tutorial to show people how to do it when they came out of the Play Store.
So we often hear, and to be fair, the historical context of this turns out to not be what people use it for, but you often hear that Benjamin Franklin quote about, was it those who would trade the liberty for
safety or something?
For safety deserve neither. Yeah. It actually turns out that that was actually about needing to have more safety because they needed I think the wealthy landowners in Pennsylvania to pay more for the militia. But anyway, I think what people use the quote for is very valid, even though it's probably it's historically inaccurate, which is that is the eternal question in... Right. I mean, it's an eternal question in life, but it's also an eternal question most in computers, right? Anyone who's had to deal with a work IT department knows what I'm talking about, where, maybe you'll get, a a laptop that's completely locked down and you can't do any, you can't install software on it or anything. And our argument is, oh, we can't trust you because you might, put a virus.
Right.
And there's always that trade-off, because there are people out there who don't know what they're doing, will install something bad, will do something bad.
Right.
And so, the thing that a lot of people have always disliked about Apple, and we've bonded over this, is the infantilization of the users. Now, over the years, unfortunately, what we've seen
I can't step on it too hard because there is one sitting here next to me, but
yeah,
there's also an Android phone just out of reach.
But to be fair, right, I have become less like anti-Apple over the years, because I see that the industry, I mean, people are mostly not sideloading anyway on Android. Like, honestly, I haven't sideloaded anything in years. There just hasn't been a great reason for me to do so.
True.
So I get that, like, for most people, the inability to sideload is not a big deal.
Right.
But the end result of it is that you are stifling competition, right? With this, like, the inability to sideload an Epic Games Store. So, I mean, I think, but his argument makes no sense, because basically what he's saying is, if we allowed sideloading, then somebody could use this. Then somebody who is foolish could enable sideloading, install malware, and then people will have malware.
Right.
The malware, everything is malware, everything is a virus, is a great way to assert control over somebody's experience, right? Because sure, anyone can get it. It's possible you can get a virus. It's also possible that lightning can hit you while you're walking outside, right? And it's not to say that it's hard to get, that it's as hard to get a virus as getting hit by lightning, but the point is, are you behaving in a responsible manner or not, right? So, like, people can get, if you get an email that says, like, give me your bank account, or somebody calls you and says, we're warning you that your car warranty is almost over and you don't have a car, like, don't listen
to reach you about your
car's
car's extended warranty.
Yeah, use some common sense. So if sideloading were implemented on an iPhone, I'm sure it would be the same way that it is, or more difficult than it is on Android.
Absolutely.
You would have to do something to enable it, then you would have to do something to install the apps. It would not be easy. And you as the user would have the freedom to decide. So if you decide that you want to install something, then you need to be aware of the risks. Now, unfortunately, we also are living in a world where everything now is designed to be kind of dumbed down a bit and to protect people from themselves. So, you also have, like, Windows since Windows 10 has had that smart screen thing, where when you try to install apps that it doesn't know about, it warns you that we don't know what this app is, so it could have a virus. Like, again, it used to be the case that every app was an app that Microsoft didn't know about.
Right.
And you didn't need Microsoft to know about something. And they make you really jump through a hoop under Windows, because you have to hit, like, this view more information thing and then say, okay, I'm going to install it anyway. And I've had a lot of apps that I wanted to use that, I mean, I was able to do it, but a lot of people probably would have stopped when they got the warning. So, I think it's really clear what this guy is trying to do. He's trying to protect Apple's bottom line and Apple's, image as, trying to justify the walled garden. Right. And no, this is not the, I mean,
it's the same kind of fear tactic that the government's been trying to use to convince people that encryption should be breakable.
Yeah, right.
Fear works.
Right.
It's
right, exactly.
It's not a good look. for those
Yeah.
who know what's actually happening, but it works.
Right. So, a lot of things are, everything's going to give you a virus.
Right.
I mean, there are viruses, there are malware, it is a problem. Yeah. So I don't know what an ideal operating system would do under these circumstances. What do you think if you were to build an operating system that was kind of open and fair to all apps from the ground up? How would it function?
Me personally,
Yeah.
it would probably have protections on by default, similar to how Android works. It would have protections on by default, but it would allow you to disable those, so that by default, Dad can't click on the ads that look like a dialog box and go and download something. But you and I, if we wanted to, you and I would have the ability to go turn that off, sideload something, install something without having to truly fight our way through.
Yep. Yep. And something that's also a little bit lost in all of this is that when you make it hard for people to sideload, you also make it hard for them to create a limited distribution app that doesn't go through the store. So if you want to make an app for just you and like 10 of your coworkers or you and 5 of your friends, that's when dealing with stores is the most pain, because you have to spend money. Sometimes it has to go through approval just to give it to 5 people. So sideloading is a real help to small time developers or people who just want to create an app for a limited group.
We will talk about this a little bit more. We're going to talk about a company who currently has sideloading and is planning on removing it in the near future, which is its own level of annoyance. But for right now, let's see what's happening in the Piltch point. Oh, hold on. Before I do that, there we go. This week's Piltch Point with Avram Piltch is proudly powered by PureVPN. The best way to protect your privacy online is with PureVPN. You can hide your online activities, say goodbye to regional restrictions, and improve your streaming quality. Plus, it's available for almost all of your devices, and you can get a special price and a 31-day money-back guarantee right now by going to piltchpoint.live/PureVPN. All right, so we've been talking for the last couple of weeks about Techtober. There was one particular topic that we discussed that we wanted to talk about that we didn't, that happened, that's a big deal, but you guys have a review now, so it's time to talk about it, right?
Yes, so Intel is back. They, after years of really falling behind AMD, particularly when it came to desktop performance CPUs, Intel's new Alder Lake chips have come out. They are otherwise known as the 12th generation core series. So if you see the model number with a 12 at the beginning of it, such as Core i9 12900K or Core i5 12600K, that is an Alder Lake chip. And these new chips have a couple things that you've never seen before we've never seen before on any x86 Intel or AMD CPU. First of all, they have 2 different sets of cores, which is something that we're very familiar with in the ARM world, where you have smartphone and tablet CPUs. But here they actually have performance cores and efficiency cores, and otherwise known as P cores and E cores. So, for example, the top of the line Core i9 12900K has 8 performance cores and 8 efficiency cores, and the efficiency cores run at 2.4 to 3.9 gigahertz, and the performance cores run at 3.2 to 5.2 gigahertz. So you have a higher clock speed and more power consumption on the performance cores, and the performance cores are hyper-threaded, which means they can be doing two things at once, whereas the efficiency cores can only do one thing at a time. Now, why would you want this? The idea is that the E-cores are saving power that can then be directed to the P-cores. So power and thermal headroom, right? Because your CPU can only use so much power and can only go to a certain temperature before it starts to throttle. So the E-cores may do something like play a video or manage your antivirus scan or something that is not as demanding, while your P cores are concentrating on that game that you're playing. Similarly, apparently, the E cores can actually be used, and I believe they can be used in OBS streaming. So if you are using OBS, Open Broadcast Studio, I think the most popular streaming software, certainly one of the most popular, that's optimized for Alder Lake, so it can actually um, you know, kind of take those cores, have them work on the sort of the streaming program, the video encoding, while you take the performance cores and let them play the game, so you can get higher frame rates in a game while you're streaming than you could before. So that's pretty impressive. What we found, the review embargo on those was just a few days ago, and our CPU expert and deputy managing editor Paul Alcorn spent a lot of time testing in particular, the Core i9 12900K and the Core i5 12600K, which are sort of the top of the line and the mid range. And with the top of the line, the Core i9 goes for about 589, and the Core i5 goes for 289. So pretty decent. The Core i5 is a pretty decent deal. Particularly, you can also get it without integrated graphics, and that is the KF model, and that's about $25 cheaper. So if you have a graphics card, you don't need that. The other things that are interesting and unique about Alder Lake CPUs is that they are the first to use DDR5 Ram. So you can the motherboards that you have to get with them, which are Z690 chipset motherboards, support either DDR4 or DDR5. Now, DDR5 is way more expensive than DDR4, so we recommend caution in buying it. And there are some restrictions on like which DDR5 chips can go in your slot, in which slots. And so at this point, it may or may not be worth it for you to spend the extra to get DDR5. But that's another step up. Another thing is that Alder Lake has PCIe 5 connectivity, which I'm not sure if there actually is anything right now that uses PCIe 5, but you'll be ready for it. And of course, it will also support PCIe 4 SSDs, which is something that AMD has supported for quite a while. So these are extremely fast CPUs, and they outperform. On gaming, they generally outperform their AMD competitors, and they have also outperformed them in many cases on on productivity workloads. Now it kind of depends somewhat on the threading, because on how many what type of application you're using. If it's something like a video editor, a high-end video editor, or 3D rendering, then you might benefit from some of the AMD chips that have more cores in total. But but in most cases, the Alder Lake chips are faster and are generally a better bang for the buck, except for the fact that you have the motherboards that you have to get to use them. The Z690 motherboards are fairly expensive right now. But these are using Intel's new Intel 7 process, which also means that they are using a 10 nanometer process finally after doing 14 nanometers, which means they can fit more transistors into a smaller space and get more performance for that. So, these are really interesting, innovative new CPUs that have just come out from Intel, and they've actually required some changes to Windows 10 and 11 because they have to have a scheduler built into them that actually decides what tasks to give to what core. So, this is a simple task, can go to the E core, give it to the E core. This is a performance task, give it to the P core. So anyway, we have very detailed review of Alder Lake on Tom's Hardware, and we also have a face-off between the 12900K and AMD's top two Ryzens, the Ryzen 9 5950X, which goes for $799 now, and the Ryzen 9 5900X. So really impressive catch-up work from Intel, which for years had really been losing market share and mind share, especially among enthusiasts, with its desktop chips.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting. So the idea of the performance and the efficiency cores, not in this implementation, but the concept existed in some of the older Atom processors, but the whole processor would shift into which mode it was working on. There was no like, hey, this needs to go this way and this needs to go this way, which is obviously a better idea. The whole system doesn't have to shift. It can take tasks and throw them to specific parts.
I think this is the first time that we've. Yes, I think this is the first time though that we've seen it on a desktop chip.
Yeah.
Like Atom, sure. I mean, Atom you generally would use with a mobile device, like a low-end laptop or a tablet.
They were specifically the like multiple personality chips were created in the netbook era. But it was literally like multiple personalities. Am I gonna be Bruce Banner or am I gonna be the Hulk? It was not like you could feed stuff to both sides, which was an interesting idea, but obviously not great for a device that you're actually using, right? Like what we're using here in the studio, that wouldn't do anything because this computer would never switch into the efficiency cores. But in this case, it could, even our system could throw background stuff, chat and stuff off to the efficiency cores while doing the actual show on the performance cores.
Right. In past, this is, and when you see this used on a phone or whatever, it's really used for battery life purposes. Mm-hmm. Like, let's try and save power for battery life. When you are using a desktop, generally speaking, most people using a desktop don't care about how much electricity they're using. Mm-hmm. They don't have a battery to worry about, and they're probably not working out the dollars and cents of if they use just a few watts less, what their electric bill will be, especially if they're PC gamers. But so what matters to them is not how much power am I using overall, but am I able to like really make the most, get the best performance out of my chip? So this is coming at this is using two different kinds of cores for performance benefits more so than for power savings. I mean, they're obviously becoming more power efficient by doing it, but then that also allows you to take that TDP, that heat and that power, and direct it toward the performance cores, because what you have by contrast, so for example, the top of the line here is of Alder Lake is the Core i9-12900K, and it has 8 performance cores and 8 efficiency cores. So 16 cores in total, and 24 threads, because the performance cores get 2 threads and the efficiency cores get 1. But so compare that to, for example, the Ryzen 9 5950X. AMD is top of the line. AMD's top of the line has more cores. Actually, it has more. Basically, it has 16 full performance cores, and 30, each of which has 2 threads. So there are 32 threads. But all of those are using the same amount of power. So if you're doing something like you're playing a game, most games only use, for the game itself, 1 or 2 or 3 cores. They're not using, all the cores. They just haven't been designed that way. So to use those cores. So why not use the efficiency cores to handle the other stuff that's going on your computer, like your Discord chat, and really take the thermal and power budget and throw it at the game.
Right. Yeah, makes sense. This is cool. And you said you've already got reviews up, right?
Oh, yes. So we've got a very detailed review, which I couldn't even touch the amount of detail in our talk here, on tomshardware.com. Plus, we also have a face-off that directly compares the 2 top Ryzen chips to the Core i9-12900K. So check out the review, check out the face-off. There's definitely a lot of cool stuff about Alder Lake, and you do not necessarily have to buy top of the line to get a great chip, because the Core i5-12600K, which is only $289, is giving you also a really good experience.
Very cool. Well, definitely appreciate this. I'm glad we waited for the review to be complete to do this topic, because wow, that's a lot of information, and I'm actually stoked about an Intel processor again, and that's been a while.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's actually some innovation here. It's not just like a little bit faster than the last gen, a little bit more transistors. They went to a different production process, and they have 2 different types of cores.
Yeah, very cool. Totally different. Very excited. And, next time we do an upgrade, Intel could be on the menu. So, as always, Avram, thank you for the information, and I look forward to what we talk about next time. This week's Extra Life on F5 Live is proudly powered by Loot Crate. Whether you're a gamer, anime fan, or pop culture aficionado, Loot Crate has got a crate for you. They curate a bundle of collectibles, apparel, figures, and more that you can't find anywhere else. The crates get delivered to your door. It is like getting an awesome birthday present from yourself every month. You can learn more about the crates that are available and any deals that are going on by going to f5live.tv/Loot Crate. One topic that we've not touched on, for various reasons, but we're about to, has been the trouble over at Blizzard. If you haven't been following along with what's been going on over there, some pretty heavy sexual assault complaints have been made, definitely sexual harassment complaints against a number of people in the upper echelon of Blizzard. If the upper echelon weren't involved, they were aware of what was going on. There have been staff departures, including executives, and this week, some unfortunate news for gamers came about. Obviously, Activision Blizzard has its mess to deal with on the legal and cultural side, but on the consumer side, from what we see outside, they made the announcement that their two big franchises that were expected with releases in 2022, Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4, have been delayed. They said on an investor call this week that they will not hit their 2022 deadline. Does that mean 2023? Ooh, they didn't say that. So as of right now, there is no publicly available launch window, which is unfortunate, but again, internally, this brand is a mess. And obviously a delayed game is kind of the least of their problems right now. But when you combine it with the delayed games, it really creates a Blizzard that is in trouble. They've also said that BlizzCon 2022 is not happening. So I mean, this is a brand that's in trouble for good reason, but it's a brand in trouble.
Well, that's an interesting. I think it raises an interesting question, which is the brand in trouble because they have obviously have some bad people and a bad culture problems there, or are they in trouble because like a lot of brands, they're somehow struggling with delays that I'm not sure why they're delays, but this is hardly the only game to have been delayed. Seems like almost every AAA title gets delayed, and delays happened even before COVID, so I'm not really, I guess it's just really hard to hit deadlines with a game these days.
True, but they're in trouble for both. They're certainly not mutually exclusive. In this particular case, A almost certainly led to B. I mean, Blizzard's not known for giving hard release dates until they're ready to, which is why a release window of 2022 is all we knew for these games. But they set themselves a schedule. You can look back at World of Warcraft and sorry, comment that I kind of agree with. With World of Warcraft, they set themselves a schedule every 6 months for a while. They were coming out with a DLC, and they were, for the most part, they were hitting them kind of right on the head. And this is kind of the only thing that's happening inside of Blizzard right now is these two games. So everything getting pushed back is not great. In the chat, Alante said, willing to bet these games never release. I am not going to disagree with that. I don't necessarily know your reasoning for it, Alante, but I know my reasoning is that Blizzard as a corporation is in trouble. There have been rumblings in the industry that they may not even get to keep their name. And that Blizzard as a whole might end up going the way of Maxis, and get blown into Activision, the way Maxis got blown into EA, to get away from the Blizzard name. It's not great. Alante says, "I'd bet a fortune I don't have on it." Me too. I have a feeling
think
that
the games will come out
these
though.
Titles.
Why not? I mean, because don't you think that we just said that these are really popular franchises, so if somebody owns the IP, even if Activision were to decide to close Blizzard down as an entity, wouldn't Activision they want to come out with these games?
Yeah, my guess is that something called Overwatch 2 and something called Diablo 4 would release, but my guess is it won't be these games.
We don't know what these are right now, so how will we ever know?
Right. We externally may not know, because these were announced in 2019 for a 2022 release, with very little information. We've seen some non-gameplay graphics and stuff. But yeah, the games that are in development now, I have a feeling won't see the light of day. This is not, and this is an important disclaimer, this is not based on any insider information. Nobody has told me anything. Just based on rumblings in the industry. I have a feeling there are going to be some big shakeups before this stuff happens. And like, there was an EA title, I don't remember what it was, that was under development for like a decade, and there were 4 different versions of it, and we never saw the first 3, but neither did anybody else. I have a feeling that that's what will happen here. All the work that's been done will be taken away from Blizzard. Blizzard is probably short-lived. That's just my guess.
But
It used to be the brand to work for, and now it is almost a stain on your resume.
Delays seem to be common, though. I mean, we've seen, for example, my most unfavorite delay is there have been no new Lego games in like 3 or 4 years, and there was supposed to be Lego. The Skywalker Saga was supposed to have come out 2 years ago, I think. By the time it actually comes out, all the technology in Star Wars will not be sci-fi anymore. It'll just be regular, you know. We'll be flying around in X-Wing fighters, and they'll get the game, and it'll be like, this is just like what we're doing now. Because that's how long they've taken to make it, but this seems to be a common thing. So
yeah, it's certainly becoming more and more common in the industry for sure. But seeing games completely scrapped and started over is not uncommon in the industry. I don't know how far into these games they are. I know that one in particular is far enough that it's playable in pieces. But I don't know. I have a feeling there's going to be a huge shakeup in this division in the next 3 to 6 months. They're already losing one of their co-leaders. That was another announcement that was made. Jen O'Neill is leaving her position of co-leader and leaving the company, which will leave just Mike Ybarra as the head of the company. There's a lot of stink on this brand. You know, any company that has to change a character's name in a video game because it's attached to somebody who was fully aware of something called the Cosby Room inside the company is not great. So I mean, they're a mess. Maybe they'll figure it out, but I have a feeling the name Blizzard is not long for this earth, and it might be for the best. It's unfortunate. I mean, Warcraft, Starcraft, you know, Overwatch, Diablo, some of the biggest names in gaming going back decades in some of these cases. You know, Warcraft, Starcraft, and Diablo are decades old. But this might be a little bit like when the founders of Call of Duty got into it with Activision and they left and the game went weird. That might be what they ditched everything that was in progress under the Call of Duty franchise and started it over. I have a feeling that we'll see something closer to that. It is Activision again, after all. But again, I will remind people this is complete conjecture. It's not based on any inside information, just a lot of time in the industry. This week's news from the tubes and F5 Live is proudly powered by Malwarebytes. Whether you use a PC, a Mac, or a mobile device, Malwarebytes Premium is the company's strongest protection ever. It fights threats that traditional antivirus software can't stop, and it covers worms, rootkits, exploits, bots, and a lot more. You can use your computer and mobile device with confidence and peace of mind. And to learn more and to get a special price, you can go to f5live.tv/malwarebytes. Facial identification. Everybody's favorite technology? Nope. The opposite of that. It's a technology that has faced a lot of backlash in recent years. Avram, you and I have talked about Clearview AI, a company that was providing facial identification for law enforcement who got hacked, which was not great. But Facebook has been using facial identification for a long time. In fact, their auto tagging feature launched 11 years ago, which is crazy to think. In that time, they have cataloged facial biometric data on over 1 billion individuals. And they use it publicly. They use it to, when you upload a photo, it says, hey, that might be Avram in that picture, is it? And then you can say yes, and then it'll tag Avram in the photo. We don't know what they're doing behind the scenes. It's Facebook, Meta. It's a company that we don't necessarily trust these days. But that's what we see it being used for publicly. Both Facebook and facial identification have a bad public image right now, and the solution that Meta has come up with is to discontinue the auto tagging feature and delete all the data on 1 billion individuals. I'm good with this move. I don't entirely know what their end goal is here. Obviously, there's been a lot of extra scrutiny on Facebook lately. There's been a lot of extra scrutiny on facial identification. Maybe they're trying to get out of it before laws get passed regulating it. I don't know. What do you think, Abram?
Yeah, I always found that feature creepy.
Yeah.
I always found that feature very, very creepy.
I hated it in particular when it was brand new, before they put safety features in place, which is how all Facebook features launch. I was getting tagged in photos from people I didn't know because they took a picture at like CES or a convention or something, and I'm in the background, and Facebook's like, hey, that's Scott, let's tag him. I didn't like that at all.
Yeah, that's creepy. I think I recall that happening once to me, or me seeing that in a picture that I took where there's a stranger in the background. That that is super creepy. But it's interesting because Facebook is certainly not alone in having this technology, and I wouldn't necessarily trust it just because they take away the front, they take away the public facing version of this, that they're not doing it behind the scenes and storing that data. They might say that they're taking it away.
They have said that they've deleted all 1 billion people. Now, they've said lots of things. There's a whole category of fact checks just on Zuckerberg's congressional answers, but
right. So interestingly, and I guess you could call this like a good thing, but again, it's creepy, but it could be useful. I was going through my phone pictures in Google Photos, the Photos app that it comes preloaded in Android, with my 2-year-old daughter, letting her page through them and like see pictures of herself and whatever, and pictures of the family, and it shows up like people in this photo, and it showed her face, and like she tapped on her face, and we look at it, it's like unnamed person, because I haven't I haven't put her name in there, but it knew all of the photos that she was in, so it could tell consistently from one photo to the next that this was the same person. So it seems a lot like the same technology.
Windows Photos and Windows 11 does it too.
Yeah. So again, like, okay, it wasn't as far as I know, it's not being shared across a network, especially because Google has no social network. But if I put her name in there, then Google has it.
They've got a pretty strong database of metadata.
right?
externally.
I mean, right? I mean, those are photos that I haven't uploaded to the cloud, but I don't know if they're somehow storing the meta in the cloud or whatever.
Right.
So again, like, they can easily identify the fact that she's been in all these different photos. What I didn't go through and check, and I actually should because I'd be really curious, is whether it flags her baby picture. Like, she's 2 years old now, so she looks quite different than she did when she was, say, 3 months old. I would be really curious if, although I don't think I have all her oldest pictures on this phone. So, I mean, locally on the phone or somewhere in the cloud. So, but it would be interesting to me to know if, how smart it was in terms of children, like being able to see, like, oh, this kid was like, look way different when they were like, 1 year old and when they were 2.5 or whatever. Is it still flagging them as being the same person?
Right. That's actually an interesting experiment to run. Obviously, children change significantly in their early years.
Or take
that
pictures
biometric
of
data.
me.
That biometric data might be enough.
Yeah. So who knows? Like, I don't know how facial recognition accounts for aging and things like that, but it's creepy, right? Like, it was interesting that you could tap and like, oh look, these are all the pictures with her in it, but the convenience and the creepiness kind of bump up against each other.
Indeed, they do.
Anyway, my point was that Facebook is not at all alone in having technology that can do that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we've talked about Clearview AI. Microsoft had invested in a company called AnyVision, which they divested from, and yet now Microsoft Photos on Windows 11 has that same feature. Maybe the difference is that they're not storing that metadata off device. I don't know. But, Microsoft was pretty excited about not being involved in that company anymore. And, Amazon Web Services has got an API for it. I think Azure has an API for it. I mean, it's not a complicated technology today. So the way Facebook was using it, I didn't like, for sure, because obviously for sure that was public access kind of information, right? Because it's tagging people automatically across all kinds of stuff. I'm tagged in, if you go back to like SuperCon 2010 or Miami Comic-Con Wizard World, I can find real quick in my tagged photos photos from people I do not know that were automatically tagged. That was not a great implementation of it, for sure. If it's living on device, if it's Google Photos or Microsoft Photos or whatever, and it's staying on device, okay, I don't quite have the same problem with it. But the fact that every photo being uploaded to Facebook is Scott in this? Oh. And being so accurate about it, didn't like it. Glad that feature's gone, though I would like some sort of proof that what they said they're actually doing, because as I said, nobody trusts Facebook right now, or Meta, or however you want to look at them. Maybe people trust Meta, but not Facebook itself. I don't know. But it's certainly not a brand with great customer feelings. They're getting up there with Comcast and EA at this point for people disliking them. So I don't know. I'd like some proof that what they said they're doing, but I do like that feature in particular will be no more. This week's DRM Not Included on F5 Live is probably powered by Amazon Prime. We all know you get free shipping, but you may not know that you get a whole lot more. Free music with Amazon Prime Music, free TV, movies, and documentaries with Amazon Prime Video, free video games, and a free subscription on Twitch that you can use to financially support the content creator of your choice with Amazon Prime Gaming, and a whole lot more. We've got quick links to these features and a couple of more, some of our favorites, as well as a 30-day free trial if you're not already a subscriber, and all of that is available by going to f5live.tv/prime. Now, I teased this at the beginning, that there was a company that had side loading that soon will not, and that company, I actually already mentioned, is Roku. Roku has had side loading for the purpose that we started to discuss at the top of the show, which is for developers to be able to deploy to test devices to allow a certain subset of their users to test a new version of the application without having to build and deploy to a store and go through the upgrade process and all that. They could do it just from a link, install on the device, and move on. Really great feature. As a developer, I definitely appreciate that they went to this trouble to make this possible, because on iOS, it's not easy. On Android, it's easier, but not great. On iOS, you've got to have an enterprise distribution certificate, and the best way to do it is through a product like App Center, where you can deploy from the side. But what happened with Roku was it wasn't being used entirely by developers, but instead by content creators whose content would not be allowed on the platform. Most notably, adult content. Roku does not allow explicit content in any of their apps, and so sites were just creating Roku apps and allowing you to sideload them. Roku has decided no more of this. And so they have created a beta channel similar to the Android beta channel or test flight on iOS. And you will have to deploy test apps that way. Couple of problems. The first is that means that you have to intimately know your testers, because you've got to get them into the test system. But the big problem is you can only have 10 testers. That's not great. iOS, depending on your app, can have a scale of testers. App Center, you could do as many as you want. But this is 10 testers. I have more than 10 testers on a private app distribution that I'm doing. All your developers are probably going to want to be able to deploy this way. Your internal test team is going to want to deploy this way. You're going to want to be able to send it out to external users who are going to use it different than the developers and the testers are going to. 10's not going to work.
Yeah, that seems ridiculous. The other thing that I was reading about with this, which is I really hadn't thought about before, even though I actually have a whole bunch of Roku boxes in my house, and I use Roku every day, is that there are some side loadable applications that apparently are not illicit that people do like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, I'm a little surprised to read about this, but there's one called the Wilderness Channel that has nature stuff. Mm-hmm. There's one called Nowhere TV, which has podcasts on it. There's one called iTunes Podcasts that gets podcasts from iTunes. And then there's one called Roku Movies, which is apparently features streaming of public domain movies. Now, what I don't understand is why these channels would have not qualified for Roku the regular way. Do they have to spend a lot of money? Like, what does it take to get onto the Roku store?
Great question. This is a topic that we've actually discussed on GNC Week in Review a couple of times, because the long and arduous process for HBO Max to finally show up on Roku devices was one that we were tracking on that show. So Roku decided, in its early days, Roku was kind of like Android. You submitted, you ended up in the channel store, and we moved on with our day. At some point, Roku decided that they wanted a piece of the action, And so, more like iOS, they have become. And so they actually, and in fact, more so, more like cable, they have become in that they negotiate revenue sharing with every channel that has any sort of paid content in a really annoying way. So, in the time that HBO Max was fighting with Roku, I could have written, deployed, and moved on a PLUGHITZ Live app because they wouldn't have cared because we don't charge our users, right? All of our content's 100% free. So I'm looking at a list right now of, interestingly, the list is from PureVPN. I didn't realize it until just this second. It's 22 best hidden Roku channels you should add right now, which is fascinating. But yeah, I don't know why these in particular might be stopped. It might be because they don't want to go through that revenue sharing process, and they found that not fighting with Roku and just allowing it sideload was going to be better for their customers. I don't know.
It's just an interesting question because obviously something, if it's just like a free nature channel, is Roku being a pain about approving stuff? Or because no matter what they say, some stores are really difficult to work with. So it may be that these small time channels found it was too difficult to work with Roku.
So, from what I'm seeing here, these 22 that I'm looking at are actually available in this store, but they're not listed. You have to have an access code. So like the Space Opera channel, Nowhere TV, iTunes podcasts, Wilderness channel. Looks like if you
Those
have
are
an
all the ones
access
I'm seeing too.
if you have an access code FL82109, you can install the Wilderness channel.
So that's not really sideloading, I
No,
guess, if it's hidden in the store.
you can literally just have a link and have it install, very similar to how Android works,
So
which is a cool capability that we're about to
so
lose.
really,
But
they're kind of cheating. It's not
who's
really
cheating?
sideloaded. I mean,
Not the
whoever's
not
writing an
these.
article about sideloading these is cheating because it's not really sideloading. It's finding a hidden, unlisted app.
Right, right. Now, why is it unlisted? That's a whole other conversation. Uh,
Yes, that's a good question.
it's
But
possible that's the agreement, is that uh, without revenue sharing, you can't be listed, but you can be in the store. But illicit content can't be in the store at all. I don't know. I'm gonna have to
yeah.
dive into this a little bit more because it's definitely interesting. Because there's some interesting stuff in here. Pro guitar lessons, silent movies, something called Food Matters TV. Definitely interested in finding out what that is. But if this East European Commission thing, the DMA, the Digital Markets Act, goes through, then Roku's going to have to roll this decision right back, which I find really interesting. With this thing on the horizon, that now is the time that they would challenge people. You know what I mean? That you would implement this now with the DMA on the horizon. Just seems like bad timing to me. But
Or they're trying to get some of these companies on board with
could be.
them, and we don't know whether DMA would affect other markets.
Oh,
Could
true,
they?
true.
Right. I mean, couldn't they very easily block sideloading in the US,
Sure.
but allow it in the EU? And couldn't Apple do the same with
Absolutely.
iTunes?
Yeah, for sure. That would totally be a possibility. We don't, with iOS in particular, we don't see a whole lot of that. They have fought that concept pretty hard, right down to there's some in Germany, I think there's some set of apps that are required to be installed on devices by the government. I can't remember what it is. Some like 3 or 4 apps. And Apple said, no. And they came to some agreement that, the App Store can launch at startup or something, but that they would not pre-install these apps. They weren't going to create a different, app, new user out-of-box experience, to use Microsoft's terminology, the OOBE. They weren't going to create a unique one for Germany. They said no. So I don't know. They have really resisted the idea of having a custom build for certain areas. So it would be interesting to see how Apple responds to this. Obviously, Apple has responded very negatively just to the concept so far. And Roku is going so far as basically to thump chests with the EU on this, announcing that they're going to implement this just before the DMA possibly goes into law. So I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's a saber rattle of sorts to show the EU that they're not interested in this. I don't know. But it's definitely interesting. There's a lot of people unhappy about this for so many reasons. The 10 users on the beta channel alone is enough reason for people to be upset about this, because as a developer, I would be. So, I don't know. But that is our show. Thank you to those of you who joined us live. As our listeners and viewers can obviously hear, we've had some activity in the chat room tonight, which we always appreciate. If you didn't join us live and would like to in the future, so you can see all the reasons why the final version of this has cuts in it, you can join us Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern by going to f5live.tv/join us. There you'll see the live show. You can chat with us, give your impact on the topics. We appreciate that. If you can't join us live, that's okay. PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe is the place to find this show and all of our other ones, and all the ways to watch, listen, and follow along, whether you're on one of the podcatchers or Twitch or YouTube or Facebook or wherever you want to join us. Probably we're there. If we're not, let us know. We'll try and figure out how to get our show onto that platform with you. We've got a couple of things coming up. The first is we've got some YouTube tiers that will be coming. We've got some unique content that will eventually be behind that. In particular, during CES, we are going to publish the edited but unpublishable versions of all of our interviews, basically as they happen, on YouTube, and then only our paid subscribers will get that until they publish. So that should hopefully be launching in the next couple of days. We've also got something interesting. Alante and I are doing something this week, possibly some of the other staff members, in one of our PLUGHITZ Live Unplugged live events. We are going to blind react to gift guides from other publications. No, don't worry, Avram, you will not be one of them.
We don't really have a gift guide, so it's okay.
Okay, perfect.
We don't really have a gift guide right now. Maybe we should, but we don't. So,
but we're going to be blind reacting to other people's gift guides. I was doing it with my marketing team on Wednesday.
When can we look forward to seeing this? I can't wait.
It will be. Alante is already laughing. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be probably in the next couple of days in the evening. Twitch and YouTube will be the place that you'll want to be to follow that. So definitely join us over there, youtube.com/PLUGHITZlive or twitch.tv/PLUGHITZlive. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait. I was doing it a little bit with the marketing team on Wednesday, and we were having a blast with it. Alante and I are going to have so much fun. I cannot wait. So that'll be fun. Definitely check that out. And I guess with that, on behalf of the staff that's not here, I'm Scott.
I'm Avram.
And we'll see you back next time. Ciao. Hello, YouTube. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of F5 Live Refreshing Technology. If you did, please subscribe to the channel down below, and of course hit the notification bell because we know that subscriptions don't mean much on YouTube anymore. If you've got topics that you'd like us to talk about in the future, please comment them down below. And if you'd like to not follow us on YouTube, there's lots of ways that you can follow along with our content by going to plughitslive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows and all of the ways that you can watch, listen, and follow along.